Hey guys, welcome back to another Whisper Facts episode, and today we're going to do something new for the channel and focus on a specific year and events that took place within that year. And the year in question for this video is 1992. I thought it would be a fun place to start, so without further ado, it's time to lay back, relax, and let yourself drift away as I whisper facts about 1992. 1992 was a leap year starting on Wednesday of the Gregorian calendar, the 1992nd year of the Common Era and Anno Domini designations, the 992nd year of the second millennium, the 92nd year of the 20th century, and the third year of the 1990s decade. In 1992, Windsor Castle suffered a serious fire, causing substantial damage, with important art, books, and furniture all being lost. Wow, that is something I did not know, although my knowledge on Windsor Castle in general is pretty thin on the ground. It's just a shame that some items of importance were sadly lost in the fire, most likely items that can't be replaced. Fire really is a destructive force if it gets out of control. I guess we should be thankful it was brought under control and the whole castle itself wasn't lost in the process. President George H.W. Bush and Russian President Boris Yeltsin jointly announced that the Cold War had ended. Serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer and businesswoman Leona Helmsley both went to prison. I know a fair bit about Jeffrey Dahmer. I've seen a few documentaries on him and also one of the movies that was made as well. And if you don't know who he was one of the most infamous serial killers of all time. But I won't go into it in too much detail in this video. It may well be a topic I make a video on at some point in the future, who knows. I don't actually know who Leona Helmsley was, or is. I'm not sure if she's still alive, so I would need to Google her to familiarise myself with her. The largest McDonald's in the world opened in Beijing, China in 1992. I wonder, is that still the largest McDonald's in the world today? It very well could be. I'd have to look that up as well. 1992 was designated as International Space Year by the United Nations. Fashion trends for the year included crop tops, platform shoes, animal prints, velvet windbreakers, and denim. I haven't seen some of those words in a very long time. That really takes me back. I mean, I was just a young boy in 1992, but I do recall some of those trends, in particular denim. It was so popular back then to have a matching denim jacket and jeans, for instance, usually blue in colour, and a denim shirt as well. It was all about denim then, and I remember having a denim shirt that I wore to a birthday party and thinking that I looked so good in it. But let's be honest, I didn't. I remember my sister and her friends were all into crop tops and something called floppy hats as well, which were these pretty big hats that sort of flopped over to one side. They really were the days. As for platform shoes, I don't really remember them. If I think about platform shoes, I think about the 1970s, not necessarily the 1990s, but perhaps they were a different style of platform shoe. The first World Ocean Day is celebrated in 1992, coinciding with the Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. That's a pretty cool fact. I really do think they need to do more to protect the world's oceans, but that's for another day in another video. The Silence of the Lambs won the top 5 Academy Awards. Murphy Brown of CBS won an Emmy for Outstanding Comedy Series, and Unforgettable won a Grammy for Song of the Year. The nicotine patch was introduced to help reduce cigarette cravings that are associated with quitting smoking. Yeah, I think 1992 was the year there was a big sort of quit smoking campaign here in the UK. I could be mistaken, but I think it was 1992, and I remember my dad actually quit smoking that year and hasn't since. But I'm quite surprised that the nicotine patch was introduced then. I probably would have said it was the 1980s, but there you go. I certainly think that smoking is on the decline. I'm sure if we saw figures of today compared to back then, there would be considerably less smokers around today. In 1992, Windows 3.1 was released by Microsoft. I think this was probably around the time home computers began to get a little bit more popular, although it was slightly early for that, I think, but certainly Windows began to get some traction around that time, and by the mid-90s the home computers were really on the rise. I had a friend who had a CD-ROM computer around probably 1995, and I would sit next to him and watch him play the old FIFA 94 or 95 football games, but he never gave me a go, and I've not forgiven him for that to this day. Bill Clinton was elected President of the United States, and Congress broke President Bush's streak of 35 successful vetoes. Yeah, I remember Clinton as president, mainly for negative reasons, and I don't mean the whole Monica Lewinsky scandal. I recall a time around maybe 94 or 95 when Bill Clinton visited Northern Ireland, and the movie Cool Runnings was supposed to be on TV, and I was really excited to see it. So I was outside in the street playing with my friends, and I came in thinking that it was about to come on TV. But then I looked for it, and all I saw was Bill Clinton on a number of different channels. It had been cancelled due to him making a speech, and I was not amused at all, as you can imagine. So ever since then, I kind of hate Bill Clinton. I'm kidding, but that's just a random sort of Bill Clinton related story that popped into my head there, so it always does when I see his name. The Mall of America, the second largest shopping mall in the US, opened in Minnesota. Yeah, it's a very well-known mall. I think I mentioned it in a previous facts video. I'm not sure which one it was, but it is absolutely massive in there. and it's also featured in a number of movies as well, and I'm sure TV shows as well, quite possibly. I believe it featured in Jingle All the Way, for one, the Christmas comedy with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is, shamelessly to say, it's one of my favourite Christmas movies. It's a place I'd really like to visit one day. It's just such an iconic mall that it really would be something to experience it in person, I think. During the year 1992, Prince Charles and Prince Diana announced that they were separating after 11 years of marriage. Super Mario Kart is released in Japan for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, named Super Famicom, which starts the Mario Kart series. I remember playing the old game consoles around that time, but we never had a Nintendo. Actually, I tell a lie, we did eventually get one in the late 90s, I believe, which belonged to my sister's boyfriend at the time, and I remember playing Super Mario on that. But in 1992, our games console was probably the Atari, if you remember those, but they were sort of like a large keyboard in shape, and it played floppy disk games. I have to say, some of the best gaming experience I ever had came on that Atari console. I never really got into the more modern ones, apart from PlayStation 1 and 2. I think my gaming days really kind of ended around PlayStation 3. In the year 1992, PepsiCo began to test market Crystal Pepsi. I don't recall Crystal Pepsi, I have to admit. I remember Cherry Cola, but not Crystal Pepsi. I'm not sure if it's still around. Bonnie and Clyde, made in 1967, was entered into the National Film Registry. I love that movie. It's one of the best movies of the 1960s, in my opinion. The ending is still pretty shocking to this day. It's well worth checking out if you've never seen it. Czechoslovakia is peacefully dissolved in what is dubbed by media as the Velvet Divorce, resulting in the creation of the Czech Republic and Slovakia. From February the 8th to the 23rd, the 1992 Winter Olympics, officially known as the 16th Olympic Winter Games, were held in Albertville, France. A total of 1,801 athletes participated. By the end of the year, there were about 25 websites on the internet, compared to almost 2 billion today. Yeah, that's a cool fact. The very beginning of the World Wide Web, just 25 websites back in 1992. I remember the first internet that I had probably around, I want to say, 1998. It was an old sort of dial-up modem connection that everybody at the time had. We've come a long way since those days, thankfully. I used to hate when someone would need to use the phone and I was on the internet and had to come off it. At least now that is a problem we never have to worry about again. The highest grossing movies of 1992 in descending order are: in number 10, A League of Their Own; in number 9, Lethal Weapon 3. At number 3 we have Batman Returns. In second place we have Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, and the top grossing movie of 1992 was the Disney classic Aladdin. Yeah, some very enjoyable and memorable movies there. I think Wayne's World is a classic. I loved Sister Act as a kid as well. Home Alone 2, of course, another classic. And Aladdin has always been one of my favourite Disney movies, so yeah, I really like that list. Bosnia and Herzegovina declares independence. A 3-year war follows between Muslims, Serbs, and Croats, prompting UN intervention. Euro Disney opens its doors to the public in France in 1992. In 1992, the British soap Coronation Street celebrated its 32nd anniversary. I have to admit something, and I'm probably going to embarrass myself here, but I actually watch Coronation Street, which I know is just shameful, but I really enjoy it. I think it's so funny at times. It's the longest running soap in the world, I believe, having started in 1960, and to this day it still has the original theme tune. I think that theme tune will never ever change. It just wouldn't be right to change it now, and it would feel completely wrong. I think when you think of the UK, you think about tea, the Queen, and Coronation Street. Hurricane Andrew formed on August 15th near the Cape Verde Islands. It began moving west towards Miami. The storm began hitting southern Florida on August the 23rd, causing massive amounts of damage as a Category 5 hurricane. The storm destroyed tens of thousands of homes and caused between 20 and 65 deaths. Horror films for the year included Alien 3, Candyman, Dead Alive, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Innocent Blood, Dust Devil, Sleepwalkers, Pet Sematary 2, Hellraiser 3, Army of Darkness, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, some more pretty iconic titles there. I think the ones I'm most familiar with would be Alien 3 and Sleepwalkers, which is based on a Stephen King novel. Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie, and I think it's a bit underrated in my opinion. The Summer Olympics were held in Barcelona, Spain in 1992. The maiden voyage of the Space Shuttle Endeavour began when the spacecraft was successfully launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida on the 7th of May. The mission, also referred to as STS-49, carried 7 astronauts on board, who were tasked with recovering and repairing the Intelsat 6 satellite. STS-49 set several records during the mission, including the first time 3 astronauts conducted a simultaneous spacewalk. The flight lasted nearly 9 days before it returned to Earth safely, during which the mission's goals were accomplished. And I may have mispronounced the name of the mission. It may be pronounced very soon as well. Popular music artists in 1992 included Celine Dion, Elton John, Genesis, Bobby Brown, Guns N' Roses, Madonna, Mariah Carey, Michael Bolton, Michael Jackson, Prince, Whitney Houston, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think I know all of those particular artists. Does anyone remember the band 2 Unlimited? They had a song called No Limits, I think it was, and it came out around that time, but I think it may have been slightly later, like 1993 or 94. I remember, even as a kid at the time, how popular that song was, and all my friends and my sister's friends really enjoyed that song as well. After 30 seasons, Johnny Carson hosted his penultimate episode and last featuring guests Robin Williams and Bette Midler of The Tonight Show. There were some notable weddings that took place in the year of 1992, which include on the 13th of January, MLB right fielder Sammy Sosa married Sonia Rodriguez. On the 24th of February, singer and songwriter Courtney Love wed lead singer Kurt Cobain. On the 12th of March, actress Annette Bening married actor Warren Beatty. On the 11th of April, Superman actor Christopher Reeve wed actress and singer Dana Morosini. On the 24th of April, rock star David Bowie married supermodel Iman. On the 29th of May, actor Robert Downey Jr. married actress and singer Deborah Falconer. On the 18th of July, pop music artists Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown were married. On the 20th of August, singer and actor Sting wed Trudy Styler. On the 3rd of October, future US President Barack Obama married lawyer Michelle Robinson. And finally, on the 31st of December, MLB outfielder David Justice married actress Halle Berry. The cable television network, Cartoon Network, is established by the Turner Broadcasting System. The concept was created by Betty Cohen, who served as the president of Cartoon Network from 1992 until 2001. I don't recall ever watching the Cartoon Network, and the main reason for that was because we didn't get Sky until I think it was maybe 2000 by the time we got Sky. So by then I was well past the cartoon stage of my life, and I mainly watched the teen shows on Nickelodeon. Shows like Kenan and Kel and Sabrina the Teenage Witch were two of my favourites. But yeah, the Cartoon Network was, and still is, very popular, very well known as well, I believe. The UK government closes 31 out of 50 of British deep coal mines. Sweden won the Ice Hockey World Championships in Czechoslovakia, defeating Finland 5-2 in the final game in Prague. Sweden also hosts the UEFA competitors ended up claiming the title. The North American Free Trade Agreement between the United States, Canada, and Mexico is signed. Popular video games in 1992 included Mortal Kombat, Wolfenstein 3D, or perhaps that's Wolfenstein 3D, I'm not exactly sure. Dune 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Star Control 2, so there were a lot of sequels released in 1992 in terms of video games. Alone in the Dark, Lunar, the Silver Star, Night Trap, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, and Final Fantasy V. Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Moldova, San Marino, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan joined the United Nations. That is a lot of stands there. I hope I pronounced most of those countries correctly. I think the only one there that I'm not 100% sure of the pronunciation is Kyrgyzstan, but I think that is the proper pronunciation of it. And finally, about 1 million computers worldwide had internet access, and the term surfing the internet was coined. Okay, so 1 million computers had internet access worldwide in 1992, which is a tiny percentage of the world population. But as I mentioned earlier, the internet was really in its infancy in 92, with just 25 or so websites in existence, I believe. The fact was, it came a long way in a pretty short space of time, I think, and it's just continued to grow and grow to the point I don't know what we'd all do without internet access. It's funny to think there was a time before the internet, and it wasn't even that long ago, a time when if you wanted to find something out, say you wanted to find out what the capital of Romania was, for instance, you'd have to look it up in a book. But today, all we have to do is type it into a search engine on a laptop, a smartphone, or some other related device. Well guys, that is just about it for this look back at the year 1992. I hope you enjoyed this trip back in time to look at some of the popular events, fashions, music, movies and current affairs of the year. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're new around here, and I'll bring you plenty more fact videos like this one in the near future. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, rest easy, sleep well, and I hope to see you again very soon for another facts episode.